The word inmost means deepest within, furthest from the outside. There lies our most painful and private of our own thoughts and feelings. The game Inmost, however, aims to use the 2D puzzle platformer genre to explore this concept, while also being a very satisfying gaming experience. A very tall order that Hidden Layer Games was more than happy to fill out. The company was set up by Alexei Testov and his friend Andrei Vinchkolovsky. Over the course of 8 years, they made Flash and HTML games to keep themselves afloat. Each project was essentially used to fund the next one. As you can imagine, they were determined to break this cycle. So, in order to do that, they had to take a gamble at a bigger and more artistically driven project, and here is where Inmost was born. After entering a prototype of the game to 2017's DevGam, they won the Best Indie Game Award, along with the prize money. Added with the extremely positive feedback, it encouraged them to develop the game to completion. Then Chucklefish in March of 2018 became their publisher. Chucklefish is a well-known UK-based developer and publisher for indie games, and they tend to specialise in games with a pixel art style, like Starbound or Stardew Valley. Inmost was then launched on the Apple Arcade in October of 2019, then on PC and Switch in 2020. At a glance, I saw that the game had gotten some pretty positive reviews, but I didn't read any further because I wanted to form my own opinions for this video. Otherwise, I would run the risk of just saying what everybody else was saying about the game. But there is one thing I think we can all agree on about this game, is that the art style is spectacular. I do know that there are some people who are tired of indie games having a pixel art style, but I don't care. Just look at it. The shading, the pixel placement, the minimalism, the animation. The art style alone is worth the price of admission. But I think the thing I appreciate the most is the way that the characters have a grey outline, so they don't blend into the background. Best of all, I think it makes the game look timeless. If the game was made in something like Unreal Engine, give it a few years and I doubt it would hold up as well. As for the gameplay, it reminds me a lot of the Prince of Persia and Oddworld games. Jumping and interacting with the environment isn't instant like in Mario. It's slow and meticulous, which makes you think about your every move when getting around, solving puzzles, and dealing with those horrible enemies that can kill you very quickly. But on paper, this might sound quite tedious to you, but in practice, I think it's superb in enhancing the oppressive and threatening atmosphere. More importantly, the controls are very responsive, and it felt like any of the deaths or mistakes were completely my fault for not paying attention. Also, you have unlimited lives, and the checkpoints throughout the game are quite generous. As the game progresses, you get to play as 3 main characters, Adam, Elizabeth, and the Knight. Since Elizabeth is a child, she can't jump very high and needs to climb on nearby objects. Adam, on the other hand, can jump and climb, but he's just as vulnerable, which forces you to either avoid or dispatch the enemies. The Knight, however, is the complete opposite, as he can fight back and slaughter anything that comes his way. In fact, some sections remind me of Castlevania. He can even hookshot up ledges to get around, as he can't jump very high due to his heavy armor. All 3 characters invite their own degree of vulnerability and story beats as the game progresses, and after completing it, it became quite obvious that the story is the main focus of this game. The story is told from the perspective of these 3 main characters from different points in time, and a lot of it is symbolic, and I do think that the dark, ruined fantasy setting is just a backdrop for what's happening in the reality of our main characters. This is a double-edged sword. Ow! Ow! Bastard. On the one hand, it makes you pay attention to every single little detail to find out what happened and why, but on the other hand, if you didn't pay attention enough, the story just might fall flat for you. But to avoid that happening, I'm going to do my best to explain to you what happens. So please bear with me here. I'll begin with the Knight, who stole a flower from a couple before killing them. In this world, a flower symbolizes the love a couple found together. It's revealed that the Knight used to have a flower of his own, and he lost it one day. However, the flower that he stole did not accept him, so he fell into the service of the Keeper of the Spark. He instructed him to gather these orbs from these monsters. The orbs are their pain, and the Keeper feeds on them. they can also be used to help the flower accept the knight, which it does do in the end, before the keeper has no further use of him and he kills him. The knight, in this case, represents Adam. Adam and his wife had a child. They were the couple, and the child was their flower. Unfortunately, the child was bullied into suicide by their classmates. Sometime after, Adam rescued a baby from a burning building and decided to adopt her to help fill the void of losing their first child. Essentially, Elizabeth is the stolen flower and doesn't accept Adam because he's not her real parent. Elizabeth had trouble fitting in as the wife reviled and ignored her, presumably because she was still grieving over the loss of her real daughter. On top of that, Adam worked constantly to support them both, and he always came home tired and angry. I like to think this is represented with the way the knight served the keeper. He gathered so much for the keeper, but got so little in return. You work hard to earn back what the job takes, I suppose. Elizabeth avoided them both, and found solace in an old rabbit called Mr. Rabbit, who is a chaotic little beastie. One night, she tried to get into the attic to uncover a plot where her parents were abducting other kids due to all the other kiddie stuff she found, where in reality, that stuff just belonged to the first child. After breaking down, she runs away back to the building where Adam found her, in a futile attempt to find her real parents, who perished in the fire. Despite Adam's best efforts, they both fall off a crumbling balcony and she dies. Adam, unfortunately, lives on, with all the pain that was inflicted upon him. His first child dead, his wife dead, Elizabeth dead. And I'd like to think that the sections where we play as Adam are just a cerebral representation of his pain and grief. I know this because of the occasional flashbacks and forwards. The ruined fantasy setting is just a reflection of Adam's downtrodden mindset. In the end, Adam still endures into old age. The pain has dulled, but it's still there, and he fights it every day. And the same can be said about you and me, be it physical or mental. No matter how much pain you're in, eventually it will fade away. Not completely, but there will be a point where it doesn't hurt as bad. It's important that you talk about your pain, and the pain that you continue to endure, with a trained professional or at least with someone you trust. To be in pain is to be human, and anything human is mentionable, and once it becomes mentionable, it becomes manageable. With that being said, I think it's about time I wrap up this review. Overall, Inmost is a grand and melancholy experience, but there are a few things that hold it back from being a 10 out of 10 for me. The game is rather short, my total playtime rounded out to just 5 hours. Also, I think the quick checkpoints and the unlimited lives makes the game way too easy, which is beneficial for the pacing of the story, but where's the fun in a game where you can't lose? The only other additional content was scouring around the map for the pain crystals, which can unlock additional lore, which did fill in some blanks in the story, and I had a lot of fun finding them. It felt very Metroidvania-esque, as I had to find different items and backtrack to areas to unlock them. I wish the game expanded on this front, and in one of the night sections, a dragon appeared, and I was convinced that it was going to be a boss fight, but it just ended up being a cutscene, which was slightly disappointing. But hey, the fact I'm asking for more is a good complaint in my book, and it makes me excited to see what Hidden Lair Games have up their sleeves next. Thank you very much for sticking around to the end. I've been Captain Cap, and I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye.